the choices you make in life, there are consequences. Worst case scenario, you make a bad choice and you devastate a family, yours or somebody else's. Losing a child is probably the worst thing that could happen to a mom. I can't imagine anything worse. She left around, it was a little after 8:30 in the evening, and she said she would be back in a couple of hours. I love you, bye, you know. On the way home from the steakhouse where this group of kids was eating, she accepted a ride from a driver that she didn't know all that well. And they were coming down a little, just a 2-lane road that had twists and turns in it, and for some reason he hit a speed of over 100 miles per hour, and he lost control of the car, and the car spun and spun and spun and spun, went airborne, skid some more, and slammed directly into a utility pole. Kristen's side hit first, and the car completely wrapped itself around that pole. They said that she died instantly, and the coroner's report says that it was multiple internal injuries. Both of her legs were broken. She had 2 brain hemorrhages. Basically, when she hit the pole, her whole body inside was crushed. And when I came downstairs, they were already at the door. From the accident scene, they sent a police officer, a chaplain, and a detective to tell me what had happened. I think what I remember most is the look in their eyes. It was like a dread. It was like they didn't want to be there. I'm sure they didn't want to be there.
I remember just her hands going up to her mouth and her eyes filling with tears. And she was, as I would be, in shock.
The phone rang, and it was my friend Ashley on the phone, another girl who we had grown up with. And she said, "Leah, have you heard?" And I was like, "Heard about what? I've been at church all day, you know, what are you talking about?" And she said, "KristenNorris got in an accident." And I was like, "Okay, so she got in a car accident. Is she okay?" And she said, "No, you don't understand. She's dead." And I thought she was kidding, because we were all a bunch of pranksters. We all loved to play jokes on each other. And I thought to myself, this is the worst joke ever. This is not funny. So I went off on her. And I was like, "Ashley, this isn't funny. You don't joke about something like that." And she's, "Leah, I'm not kidding." And I said, "It's not funny. Shut up. Tell me the truth. What really happened?" And she said, "That's what really happened. She got in a car accident last night, and she's gone." And it was so weird, because Kristen is the first person that I've ever lost. And I just dropped the phone and started screaming and crying and kept saying, "It's not real. It's just a dream."
The next day, we went down to the funeral home and started making the arrangements that were necessary. When I walked into the room where they keep all the caskets, they have this big room with everything you have to choose from, I really thought I was going to fall down. I just couldn't believe I was shopping for a casket for her. when I went to the visitation, it was held in a large room, and I walked in the back, and from the corner of my eye, I could see that the casket was up front, and I could see that she was in it. And I had not seen her until this point because I had refused to go with everybody to view the body and make the positive identification. So I got right up to the casket, and I looked at her, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just talking to her on Saturday, and it was only Wednesday, and here she was laying so still, and no more of that energy for life, no more smiles, no nothing. So I reached and I touched her on the cheek, and her skin was cold and hard. They loaded her up in the hearse, and we followed in the car behind, and the family and friends all went to the cemetery to say that final goodbye. We just kind of stood there over this massive pile of dirt, and this dirt pile now covered up every hope and dream and goal she ever had.
When Kristen's life was taken, it didn't just touch mom and dad, it touched grandparents. It touched cousins, aunts, uncles. It touched classmates. It goes on and on.
To lose someone that you love it's the most painful thing. It's not something that you ever get over. I learned to deal with it on a daily basis. I learned to cope, but I'm never going to get over that. And if your family and your friends lose you, they're never going to get over that. Even now when I look at pictures, I think, when am I going to wake up? When is this just not going to be real anymore? And it's just something that's so hard to accept, that someone who was 17 died. I mean, she just died so young.
Some days are close to impossible because you want that person back so bad, but you can't have them. The families pay a big price. And it just becomes a life of coping. Holidays and birthdays will include a trip to the cemetery where you are. And that will just become the norm for the mom. Well, it's Christmas, we've got to head down to the cemetery. And it just shouldn't be that way. A mom should never have to drive out of a cemetery and leave a child there.
It was so eye-opening at Kristen's funeral to see there are so many people that you have no idea that your life impacts. And by taking just a few minutes and saying, I'm going to go really fast right now and try to impress my friends, I'm going to speed, or thinking, oh my goodness, I'm late to school. If I'm late to school again, I'm going to get a detention. I'm going to get in trouble. So what? I would rather spend a year in detention than have to spend a year without my friend. And it's not just going to affect your family. I mean, obviously it's going to affect your family in great ways, but it affects your friends more than you know. Teenagers are constantly begging for respect and constantly begging for people to, we want people to trust us. Well, you want people to trust you, go the speed limit. Be more aware of whose lives are in your hands, literally, when you're in control of the car. If your friends are carpooling with you, make them buckle up. Make them be aware of what's around you. And I know that's something that you hear in driver's ed school and you don't really think about it. You kind of brush it off, but it's so true. My driver's ed teacher told us, you only have one chance to be aware of all your surroundings when you're driving. don't ruin that one chance and take the risk of ending your life and someone else's.
She would have been one of those that would have said, "Oh, that will never happen to me." My best advice would be is try to make good choices while you're on the road, because it only takes one bad one to wipe you out and devastate your family.